Hi, this is Mike Crow, and I run a home inspection business. In fact, I've run a couple of home inspection businesses. The true joy for me, though, has been helping literally thousands of home inspectors build really solid home inspection businesses as well. We can help a single-man operation be able to do over $300,000 a year, maybe all the way up to $400,000 a year as a single inspector operation. Even better for me is the 80-plus companies that we have helped be able to build million-dollar home inspection businesses. I would like to help you be able to do the same thing. I try to tell people there's 5 major reasons you do not ask for referrals. And this is incredibly important. Our whole lives we're basically taught not to do some things. As children, we're taught not to do some things. One of the reasons I'm successful is because I do them anyway. And I've learned by having coaches to do it anyway. So for instance, you were probably never trained to ask for referrals. And as a result, you never do. And in fact, people will tell you this: if you do a good enough job, business will come. I heard that. People told me that. But what I found was if you do a great job and you ask for referrals, the business will come in 10 times faster, okay? But you know what? A lot of times people said you shouldn't have to ask. And there's some industries out there where they still tell you that you really shouldn't advertise. That's just totally against, your profession. That's okay. I understand that some people do that. And for instance, also, sometimes you get this chance when people ask you a question. Like one of the things that I've said in many cases, how do you answer the question, how's business? Well, that's important because if you answer that properly, you get to not only be able to help them get more comfortable with you, but you get to say, we really appreciate your referrals, and that's important inside of that. Here's what I want to make sure you understand. Everybody knows somebody that can do business with you, probably wants to do business with you. Now, if it's a dentist, right? Well, they probably need to have they need more clients to have teeth cleaned and then maybe do, cavities and root canals and all that great stuff. As a home inspector, well, we want these agents that know another buyer that needs somebody. But here's the other thing is, when I have agents that are referring me, they probably know of other agents that they can refer to me as well. But they don't think about that because, well, it's never really been addressed with them. And you need to be able to say, I would greatly appreciate maybe if you could help me find other agents like you that appreciate what we do and be able to give them the chance or give them the thought of working with us. And you have to do that by helping them not only with maybe answering the question of how's business, but also by answering the question of identifying those agents. Maybe there's a brand new agent in your office that is still putting all the pieces together. So you start making a list of those kind of agents that would be a good referral. You probably go to meetings on a regular basis with other agents and that you hear them talk about how a home inspection didn't go quite right. It'd be maybe great, maybe a good time to bring up our name and say, hey, you need to use this company. I'd greatly appreciate that, okay? So everybody knows somebody. And you need to make sure that you're taking advantage of that and helping give them the right thought process so that they can help you be introduced to those people. And sometimes it's how you set your business card up. So they have your business card and they'll hand out your business card. And of course, one of the things I love today is making sure that they can just open up their cell phone and go, oh, here, let me tell you about this guy. Here's this phone number. You take this down. I want them to be able to pass my name and information on to some people. Now, let's take a look at the script of how's business. People usually ask you how's business, and inspectors answer this completely wrong. They say things like, oh, it's going great. We're doing our best year ever. Great answer. By the way, we're having our best year ever again this year as well. However, you cannot tell that to your mavens or clients or agents or different people because what that really tells them is you're probably too busy to take care of them. if I was talking to somebody at the restaurant business and they were going, oh man, our business is so good, we're packed all the time, I'm thinking, I don't want to go there. I mean, maybe it's a great restaurant, but I don't really want to have to wait 30 minutes, an hour or whatever, and all this other stuff, right? And then there's something even worse than that. You go, how's business? Man, I don't know. Well, you know, it's wintertime, and of course there's a recession going on, and well, there's an election going on, or, you know, there's a state fair going on, or, you know, and so we're kind of waiting for those to get out of the way so business will pick back up. They're going to turn and run from you as fast as they can, right? They figure it has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with the fact that you are not referable. And they don't know why yet, and they don't want to find out. So you've got to make sure. So when you answer the question, how's business? I need for you to try to learn this script. I'd write it on a 3x5 card, put it in your pocket. That's what my dad used to do all the time, and pull it out and he'd read it. Then we'd go into the inspection. And so if somebody asked a question like, how's business? It's going well, you know? And it's important for you to know that I always have time to work with any of you and your friends and family members. Now, that's the short version. And you feel free to learn that first. The longer version is something like, you know, it's going well. Because, and by the way, pause, it's going well. Mainly, in fact, because we're putting into place systems that help us serve your clients even better. And we're giving our clients, customers, even a more consistent, predictable service each and every time. And, you know, as you're working with other agents, would you do me a small favor? Would you let other agents know how you have benefited by working with us? So how's business? It's going well. Mainly, in fact, because we're putting into place systems that help us serve your clients even better. And we're trying to make sure that we're giving your clients a more consistent and predictable service each and every time. And you know, if you have a moment, if there's another agent you hear talking about home inspections that maybe needs a good home inspection company, it'd be great if you'd consider, you know, introducing us to them or introducing them to us. All right? So it's very, very simple. And you want to go through this. You want to learn this. You want to write it down. You want to practice it. Put it on a 3x5 card. Put it in your pocket. It's going well. And by the way, if you have a real struggle with that, go ahead and start simple. It's going well. Please don't keep me a secret, okay? But don't say, oh, we're struggling because it's wintertime or a recession. Don't also say, oh, man, we are so busy. I have to tell you, it's amazing. Made both of these mistakes already. I'm going to tell you, it will not serve you well. So, how's business? It's going well. And please don't keep me a secret, all right? So you go over that all the time and try to make sure that you have those things in place. So number one, you were never trained to ask for referrals. And as a result, you never do it. And I want to make sure that you get past all of that. Number two, you might want to ask for referrals, but you forgot. This one really bothers me. If you're married and you forgot your wife's anniversary, what does that tell your wife about how you feel about your anniversary? Must not be very important. So I try to help people understand that when they say something like, I forgot, what they're really trying to say is, that was not important. And if it was important, they wouldn't have forgotten it. If it was really important, they would have written it down, put a Post-it note up, put it in their calendar, made sure that they had an alarm set on their phone. They would have made sure that they remembered it. So when you say I forgot, that's also just another way of saying, you know, I'm just being irresponsible. Maybe I'm being a little harsh here, and I'm not trying to be. I just want to make sure that you understand I forgot is a terrible, terrible reply to not asking for referrals. Did you ask for referrals? Oh, I forgot. Okay. It just isn't painful enough for you. Evidently, you have all the business you want, all right? And sometimes when you set up your business card right, that helps make sure you don't forget. And there's other materials that you can try to put out to help make sure you don't forget to ask for referrals. We have several inspectors that do a great job of suggesting that people go out and leave a good review on Google or Yelp or something else. And it's important to them. And they know that that means they're probably going to get more business. And so they do a lot of great stuff there. All right, number 3. And this is probably one of those that is so deep to the core that most people don't realize it. There's 5 major reasons you don't ask for referrals. Number 3 is you're uncomfortable doing it. You're uncomfortable asking for help because sometimes people think when you ask for help, it means weakness or helplessness or like you're begging or whatever belief that you have attached to asking for help. And asking for help is one of my biggest secrets. I rarely hesitate when I ask for help. Hey, could I ask for a little bit of help on getting such and such done? Hey, could I ask for a little bit of help in making sure other agents in your office know who we are? Could I ask for a little bit of help in helping me schedule a presentation at your office? I have no problem asking for help. Now, I wish that everybody I had working here felt the same way, but the truth is, as we grew up, we were told, don't ask for help, do it yourself, be strong. And I mean, it just, you know, it all falls down into a certain point. And as soon as you go, oh, I need help, you don't feel comfortable asking for it. And I want to make sure you get past that. You've got to learn to ask great questions where you ask for the help that you need to get something done. And number 4, there's a chance that one of the 5 reasons you don't ask for referrals is that you maybe need to become more referable. Sometimes people don't understand they're not referable because, well, they show up looking gnarly, okay? You track dirt in and out of the house, and you know you're not referable when you're doing that. Have you ever done something you feel guilty about, and you know you're not referable when you're doing that sort of thing? Showing up late at the inspection might be one of those. Being on time is one of the most important things that I've ever tried to teach my kids, my inspectors, everybody that I work with. And so one of the reasons on inspections, we try to shoot for showing up 30 minutes early. 30 minutes early every inspection. Did I say every inspection? Every inspection. And that way, if we have a flat tire or if there's traffic, we still get there on time. Because when you don't show up on time, it makes you less referable and it makes you less willing to ask for that. And I'm going to tell you part of this is that sometimes you don't do what you say you will do. Now, I struggle with this probably more than anything because I promise and I promise and I promise. And then all these promises pile up, and every now and then I forget I promised or say something. So when you come to our 3-day event, one of the things you'll hear me say is, hey guys, if we promised you something, please let me know or let one of our staff members know so we can make sure we take great care of you here at this event. What I don't want to see happen is for you to leave and say, well, you promised you were going to talk about such and such, but you didn't do that. You promised you were going to give me this, but you didn't do that. Don't tell us afterwards because we can't fix it. Please let me know so that I can make sure that we do what we said we'll do. And I have to tell you, this is one I have to work at all the time. I will tell you, since I've had some great coaching on this, one of the things I've learned is quit promising so much and just do it. Just do what people are hoping you'll do without having to tell them that you'll do it. Probably makes both sides a little better on that. And then the last thing is finish what you start. And I'm going to tell you, one of the reasons I'm here right now is because I'm working on finishing what I started, believe it or not, 20 plus years ago. Me and my wife did marriage enrichment courses, and my wife said, hey, could you help do this sort of thing because we believe it would save more marriages. It's actually one of the #1 reasons we're here. And in the 18 years up to this point that we'd had shows and a coaching program and everything, we only had 5 divorces. Because one of the things that we could do was teach them, one, how to build more revenue into their business. And one of the top reasons people have divorces is because, well, the money is a struggle, okay? And then the second part is there needs to be a very visible commitment from one spouse to the other. And when you're an entrepreneur, let me tell you, that can be very challenging as well because you're doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this, and you don't always finish what you started. I want to make sure I finish my marriage, and I want to make sure I finish strong. And over the period of you working with us, I'm going to be teaching you a whole series of things that I have done and honestly, a whole series of things that Susan has done to help us continue to work on being married. Currently, I'm working on 48 years of marriage. Okay? I look forward to that being 50 and 60 and maybe even 75, because we got married young. And here's the thing is, I want to make sure we finish what we started and work on it. So some of the easy things is like date night, do what you say you will do. Hey, I want you to know I'd love to go out with you on date night once a week. Then do that. Do what you say you will do. It will help the commitment level of that relationship so much. So 5 major reasons you do not ask for referrals. Number 4 is you might need to be working on becoming more referable. Okay? So be on time. Do what you say you will do. Finish what you start. Maybe don't look so gnarly all the time, all right? I will have to tell you, I have had to clean up from what I was as a teenager incredibly, all right? And then learn not to do certain things, say during the inspection or during a meeting with a client, like don't track dirt in, for instance, all right? I remember one time, couple of quick stories. I remember one time we used to carry these big old flashlights, and we had a little thing, and I carried them, and it would just swing on my side. Made me actually feel a little important, and I could just whip it out and okay. So, but I stood up, and my flashlight kind of swung out, and it hit a baby grand piano. Never heard from that agent again. Okay, that one little thing made me unreferable. Now, it was the first time that agent ever used me, and she didn't know that I really was trying to be careful. All she saw was an unreferable, act. The other thing is sometimes, I didn't do what I said I would do as an inspector. We tell them we try to leave the property the way we found it. So anyway, I'm sitting in the car with my dad, and my dad's using this, think about this, it was a long time before GPSs. He's sitting there, he's looking up in what we call a maps going, he's mapping out how we're going to get from this inspection to the next inspection. And I'm looking at the agent at the car across from us, and I said, Dad, I think the agent's looking at us. He said, yeah, they're probably waiting for us to get out of here. And I went, oh, okay. I was very young at that time. I didn't think much about it. I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he looked at the house. I looked at the house. He looked back at me, and I looked back to him. And I could actually almost hear him go, and he got out of the car, and it was misting a little bit, sprinkling. And he walked up to the side of the house and closed the gate on the house to the fence and everything. The backyard, got back in the car and drove off. And that was the last time we ever heard from that agent, because we weren't referable. There's lots of little things you have to do to make sure you're being referable. Now I tell this story to all of our inspectors about how important it is to reset the house. We even have a checklist to make sure that we're resetting the house. We even put a tent out at every inspection to make sure people know we set the thermostat back. We checked the GFCIs. We did this and did this. Try to make sure they understood that we're doing that. And that makes us more referable. And number 5 is that you need to shift your style from like super stud to super servant. I was working in this big company at one point that had inspectors all across the United States. And one of the things was, there was one, I was a general manager, he was a general manager, and one of the things he would go, man, I hired a super stud. And my brain just didn't even want to hear that. It just didn't even really, I knew what he meant, and I knew it sounded like a good thing, right? But I've never really wanted to work with studs. I want to work with servants. And so I want a super servant. And so number 5 is you may have to shift your style, because real estate agents, they don't want to work with a stud that knows everything, has got everything, and is on target, and that's not who they want to work with. Their personality type does not like that. And so what you have to figure out is, how do you become a super servant? And it's very important that you figure that out. And in fact, here's one of the things that I want you to understand is that becoming a super servant versus a super stud is just a matter of changing perspective on parts of your life and your perspective of things. So, a super servant, for instance, has kind of a persona. When they walk in the room, everybody knows they've walked in the room. Well, the same thing happens with the super servant a lot of times, but everybody walks in the room and goes, wow, thank goodness that person's here. Okay? So it's a whole different perspective. One has persona, the other one has a character where people are going, oh man, I'm so glad they're here. And then there's other pieces of here. The super stud is like super focused on the inspection, right? Whereas the super servant is really focused on the client and how they're understanding things and making sure that they see it in a proper perspective. The super stud wants to demonstrate obsessions. Stay right here, I'll be right back. Whoa, okay? You know, and the super servant might be like, hey, hang on just a second, I need to grab something to help you understand this. When you say stuff as a super servant, it's so that they will understand things better and you're helping them. Whereas a super stud, it's all about them. And by the way, I'm a control freak. Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm a control freak. I get it, okay? I'm a recovering control freak. Some days I do better than others. I'm still a control freak. I just actually try to be a control freak while being a servant, though, instead of trying to be the super stud, okay? And so, you know, a super stud counts how many inspections. Yeah, I did this many inspections. And by the way, I brag about this too. I've done over 10,000 plus inspections. Honestly, though, I quit counting after 10,000. Wouldn't it be something if I could go, I did 16,729 inspections, okay? Well, one, as I'm growing a business, I'm not really focused on how many inspections I'm doing. I'm really focusing on how many relationships we have. When we sit down at our manager meeting for our business, we have the marketing manager there, we have the general manager there, we have the office manager there, and one of the things we're trying to figure out, one of the things that we look at is how many relationships have we built in the last week, in the last month, in the last 30 days. And so it's important to understand that the relationships are actually as important, maybe even a lot more important than just the number of inspections. And so it's important to track the number of inspections, but when you start tracking the number of relationships and you take really good care of the relationships, it takes care of those numbers. And so it's a kind of an important thing. And I'm incredibly competitive. I love being competitive, but I will tell you, over the years, especially as I've gotten a little more mature, that my whole look is on how can I help other people succeed? How can I help the real estate agent succeed? How can I help that buyer succeed in getting into this house and being happy with it, okay? And how can I help make sure that my values of security and commitment in my marriage are seen by others as well? My faith, my family is seen in my values as well, instead of, hey, you know, how many kids you have? You got 5, I got 4. You know, 4 is the perfect number. Okay, and I probably said something like that at one point. But really, it's in, man, that is so awesome. Isn't it great having a family, okay, that you get to be able to talk with and share with and things. Values make a super servant. And the competitiveness, I still got a little of that in me, okay? But I'm learning even now that it's not quite as important as the values that I bring to the table. And then the last thing, a couple of last things here is, one, a super stud is always like, you need to like me, you need to respect me, you need to do this, you need to do that. And the truth is that the super servant wants to be trustworthy. One of my most honorable moments was when I went to go speak at a group, in front of a group for the board of directors for this inspector organization. One guy stood up and said, I've never seen Mike tell me anything that was wrong or misleading. And if Mike's telling me that, I trust him on that. And that just touched my heart, okay? Because I have learned to be trustworthy, not necessarily to be just liked. And by the way, being liked is a good thing. I like being liked. We all like being liked. And I will tell you that when you are trustworthy, you'll find it actually easier for people to probably like you. Being trustworthy is more important, though, than being liked. And, you know, is motivation. The super stud is motivated by recognition and getting awards and everything. And I like getting awards. When I was when I was president of our state organization, we had a budget problem in the beginning, and the year before they had gotten rid of the award that they gave to the president. I wanted the award so bad, I said, we've got to vote this back in, because I wanted that plaque to be able to hang on my wall. I'm not even sure where that plaque is anymore. But I want to be more motivated by growth and success. I want to be motivated by the people that I help succeed. That's what I want to be motivated by. My original goal, by the way, was to help 100 people build $1 million business. I succeeded in that over 10 plus years ago. And it's still important to me, don't get me wrong. I still love watching people grow their business up to $1 million, because when they do, it's life-changing. And I still get to see it on a regular basis. Every time I go to a conference, somebody comes up and says, hey, I just want you to know, we hit that $1 million mark last year, and I just want to tell you thank you. Does my heart so good. I'm motivated by their growth. And by the way, every time they grow, I grow a little bit as well. I've had people say, Mike, I gave up drinking because of you. Wow. Because they realized I had said something, and they realized that was the one thing holding them back from success. Can you be motivated by growth? Can you be motivated by growth of other people around you? Because that's what a super servant is inside of all that. So those are some of the things that I want to make sure that you understand that we get into, which are the top 5 reasons, the 5 major reasons. You probably haven't asked for referrals. And maybe, and we see it every time new inspectors come into our mastermind group. When we just had a mastermind group recently, and there were a couple of new guys sitting in there, and he's going, I don't do this, and I don't do that, and I believe this, and I don't believe that. And I told him, I said, that's probably one of the reasons you're struggling, is because that's what the industry tells you that you should be doing. Let me show you a slightly different version of that. And after they've spent 2 days or 3 days with us, they walk out of here going, you know what, I want to be more like that. Because honestly, the more I think about it, that is more successful than the super stud. So think about all the things that we've kind of talked about here. What's one major reason out of these 5 that's keeping you from being referable? Maybe you're a super stud, and that's okay. We all kind of go through that phase, but there's no reason for you not to get away from that, okay? And maybe one of the things is that you need to be becoming more referable. You need to do certain actions that make you more referable, whether it's being on time or doing what you say you will do and finishing what you start. And there's a whole list of those things that we talk about from time to time on those things. And so I just want to make sure you hear it. You can't hurry through the job, for instance. You can't break things. You can't smell like smoke on the jobs. So many times, we've had a guy that smokes, and he thinks it's okay to go out to his van and smoke and come back. You can't do that, right? They can smell the smoke on you. Sometimes I'm working with people, and I can tell they went outside, took a smoke, come back in. I try to be nice about it, but boy, you know, it makes it difficult. And you can't just not take care of things. So, for instance, if someone called you, did you call them back, for instance? So it's all kinds of little things like that. There are certain actions there that can make you that. Number 3 on the list, if you remember, was becoming comfortable asking for help. You've got to become comfortable. And the only way to become comfortable with anything is to do it once and twice and 3 times and 4 times and 100 times. I almost fainted the first time I gave a presentation because I was that uncomfortable. Now I get up in front of people hundreds at a time, and I just take care of business, and I take care of them. And I am a super servant because I want to make sure they walk out of there with something useful. And I feel a lot more comfortable asking for help inside of all those things. And then you've got to make sure that you set up processes to help make sure that you don't forget, that you have your business card is designed that properly. Maybe your brochure is designed that way. The flyers that you give out, that, by the way, as a coaching member, we give you the right kind of flyer to help you say, you know, something and not say, I forgot, okay? So all of these things are so important. And then the last thing is, you have now been given some options here to see how you could become more referable. One of the reasons you probably weren't really truly referable was simply because you weren't trained to ask for referrals. And if you stay around us and work with us a little bit, you'll learn how important it is to be willing to ask for those referrals, and you'll learn how to ask for those referrals. Answering simple questions like, how's business, okay? You know, I have one famous person that young people probably don't know anymore. It's called Zig Ziglar. And he one time said, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly until you learn to do it well. And you need to know that asking for referrals, it's one of those things you're probably going to do poorly at first. And then hopefully, after you've been working on it 100+ times, you start getting good at it, because it is life-changing. It'll surely change your business. And believe it or not, it'll actually help you have a stronger marriage and have a better relationship with your kids when you become a super servant instead of a super stud. Just a piece of that. Well, I hope this helps, and I look forward to talking with you soon about our next great topic.